If you told me a few years ago that I'll get to a point in life where I'm making money, I would think that I probably became somewhat of a famous person on either TikTok or YouTube, because back then I used to think that in order for you to make money and make a good living off the internet, I would have to make videos on either TikTok or YouTube, become somewhat of an entertainer to the point I become famous and I start to get sponsorships and brand deals and all that traditional path that you would see most people walk down on. And I actually tried to go down that path back in 2021. So what I did was I created a simple PowerPoint presentation to present to my family, telling them, listen, I want to move to LA, because at that time I used to watch people like David Dobrik and all these entertainers online, and I used to be so not inspired, I used to be so wanna be like them. I wanted to live their life and make the money they make and buy the cars that they buy and go around with these celebrities. And I thought in order for me to do that, I have to become famous. So I created a PowerPoint presentation, literally breaking it down. That was on my old laptop. It was very busted laptop, and I created this PowerPoint presentation telling people, listen, not people, telling my family. I was like, I wanna move to LA because I wanna make YouTube videos and become famous and all that type of stuff. I'm not kidding, by the way. And I did not present them the presentation. I actually showed it to my best friend and he thought it was kind of funny. However, in 2021, things started to slow down, financially wise. And I was like, okay, maybe the LA dream is kind of far off, I cannot go to acting classes, I cannot do all of this in LA. So why not start doing it now and hopefully something clicks off? So I actually started to I created an account on TikTok and I started to make vlogs. And by the way, if you try to look for my TikTok page, I unlisted all of my videos, so you cannot find any of the videos that I'm about to mention. But I created a TikTok page where I was creating vlogs on a daily basis, and it was something that I loved doing. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a way for me to escape my the sadness inside of me. But I had this big passion for creating videos where every day I would call up friends and tell them, listen, what are we doing? What's the plans for today? I want to make a video. And when we would go out, I would find segments of our hangouts where I could film it and add it into my clip of the day. And so something that I did on a day-to-day basis, I would film the footage, go back to my house and connect through my father's hotspot at the time, because during that time we didn't have money to pay the Wi-Fi bill, so I would have to use my father's data in order for me to edit the footage and upload it. And every day I just kept doing that. However, things did not click. The TikTok dream never actually worked out, but I didn't mind it because it was something that I did out of love. I stopped making TikTok vlogs because then I was told, when things really hit rock bottom and we didn't know what we were gonna do with financially wise, that I had to move back with my mother and brother. And right then and there, I knew that my LA dream was crushed and my TikTok videos are not gonna go anywhere, because when I move back with my mother and brother, my friends won't be around for me to film videos. So when I moved back with my mother and brother, I had to figure out other ways to make money. I was like, okay, there has to be another way. I still had the dream in my mind to go to acting classes so I could do the acting stuff. However, that never really worked out because we couldn't afford for me to go to acting classes. And every time I tried to apply through a modeling agency or a casting agency, I never heard back from the modeling agencies. But every time I got back from the got a message back from the casting agencies, they would ask for so much stuff and experience that I didn't have. Again, I'm just a beginner, I'm trying to make money. And I realized that at that time, it wasn't I had a passion for acting and entertainment. I did have passion for making videos, but I think the entire thing for me was I wanted to make money. So I had to figure out other ways in order for me to make money. And I started to look on TikTok. I was doom scrolling one day, of course disappointed that I'm no longer making videos. But then I come across a video of a guy telling people, listen, we're looking to hire a bunch of people for our suit company, salespeople and whatnot. So you think you're a good fit? Apply. In my mind, I'm like, okay, it's just going to be all the other stuff that I applied to. I'm not gonna get a respond. Nobody's gonna email me back. It's going to be a waste of time. But I applied either way. However, when I applied, I got an email right the next day of somebody telling me, listen, we would like to schedule a meeting with you. I was like, okay, this is not gonna go anywhere. And if it does, they're gonna probably ask me to pay something up front, because that's usually how these type of things go. However, I got on the meeting and this guy was telling me, listen, this is the job, this is what you have to do. We'll give you a list of prospects on LinkedIn you would have to reach out to, and if you book someone in and our salespeople close them, you get a commission. I was like, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. My LA dream is crushed, my acting dream is crushed. I'm not making TikTok videos anymore, so give it. I need cash. I wanna, see how this would work out. So I got on a job and I stayed on the job for a couple of months. I didn't make that much, but it was enough for me to realize something, that I did not need to become famous to make money. In fact, the internet is the only thing I needed to make money. By the internet, I don't mean you just necessarily making videos. The internet, you could literally get a job and make money nowadays just using the internet. For me, it was this idea never existed where you don't need to become famous. You could either just get a job or sell a service and you can make money off of the internet. And what I noticed is that nowadays the barrier to entry for making money has never been easier. Like, it's never been easier. If you have access to a phone and an internet, guess what? You made it. You already have the possibility to make money, and a lot of it. So when I got on the job, I worked on the job for a couple of months, and it didn't really stick around with me because there were so many issues with the job, but I did get a couple of commissions. So I decided to leave. But this time when I left, I was like, okay, instead of me going out and paying for like acting lessons to like finally get into acting, why not see what I could do with the internet? So now that I had some money saved out, honestly, it wasn't even like $1,000 or $2,000. It was like a couple $100 like that I made from that job. And with the money that I had now, I was like, okay, maybe I could start something to get more money coming in. So I went on YouTube and I found a guy telling people, listen, agency is the best place to make money. And I was so hooked in on the idea. I was like, okay, well, I have my mother's laptop and I have access to Wi-Fi. Why not start an online business? And that's exactly what I did. I went ahead and I started an agency. And again, I worked on that agency for like a couple of months. And on the 7th month of me working on that agency, I saw my first ever client. Now, this was the moment where I noticed something. Now, although I did not run the agency for the months to come after that, but just signing that one client from my agency made me realize something that, dude, I was wrong about making money this entire time. I don't have to be famous. I don't have to be known. I don't have to be a celebrity. I don't need sponsorships. I don't need ad revenue from YouTube. I don't need none of that. I don't need to make videos on a daily basis. At that time, I still loved making videos, but in my mind, I was like, okay, this is something. You know, from where I come from, this whole idea of making money off of the internet was deemed impossible. Like, it's something that, you know, you can't do, something that's kind of suspicious. If you do it, people would deem it either like, you know, you're either a scammer or you do something completely wrong. And I understood at that time because going from just having a couple of $100 in my bank account to like, you know, a few solid 4 figures in my bank account just with one person is interesting. And I remember when I saw my first ever client from the agency, I went and I woke up my mom and I straight up just showed her the payment. And she looked at me, she was like this, she was like, okay, what are you gonna do now? I was like, I don't know. Like, I had no idea. It's like, this is a completely new life that I was introduced to. Switching from me trying to move to LA and taking acting classes and finishing my school in LA and all that type of stuff to solely focus on making money online was definitely a new thing to me, and it's a new thing to a lot of people. My family couldn't fathom how I was making money. All they like see is, okay, so at some point Yusuf wasn't making enough money, and him and his mother always complained about money, but somehow fast forward today, Yusuf is like buying gifts for his mother and brother, and he's like spending money, and he's like, you know, like you can look at him and you can see that he has money. How did that happen? And these suspicions like that came into my family's brains, I never really addressed them. I never really spoke about them. It's just I told them, listen, I'm doing good. And they always wanted to understand like what am I doing with my life? One of the biggest suspicions that they had at some point was that they thought that my father left me some money, and all the stories that, you know, were told to them was absolutely BS, which, by the way, I cannot tell you the full story at the moment, but when you hear the full story, you'll be like, that's crazy how far I've come. But in their mind, they were like, okay, this story is BS. It has to be BS. There's no way that Yusuf, like, you know, him in that place just making that amount of money each and every single month. They don't know how much I make. They just see somehow I walk into the room with bearing gifts, like he's giving gifts and talking about money confidently and spending it, not caring about it. And they're like kind of suspicious of what I do. And I'm kind of glad of where I've ended up in life. I've ended up in life where I finally get to use money as a tool for growth instead of me like constantly worrying and stressing about it. One thing that made me achieve that circumstances in life where I get to use it as a tool was by me realizing that all I need for me to make money is to simply sell a service, regardless of what it is. Again, my first ever proper client paid me 4 figures for a service, although I did not continue in that agency. But from then on, all I continued to do is sell services, from anxiety services, business consulting services. Everything that I've done, everything I've achieved, I've been able to do it just by selling services alone. And back then, I used to think that I had to become an expert before I sell somebody on something. I had to become certified in something. When I created my anxiety advising business, I thought that I had to become an expert. I thought I had to become certified. I thought that I have to like have license and all that type of stuff. But then I learned that most of the people who sell these types of services are not certified whatsoever. As long as I'm not providing people medication, I can sell people on something just based on solutions that I have tried myself. And that was my aha moment. I was like, okay, so every time I solve something, I achieve something, I'm gonna sell it to other people in the form of a program. And that's exactly what I do today. What I do today is I run a business called Personal Growth Advising, or for short PGA, where I find somebody that I can resonate with and sell them a solution for a problem that I personally was able to overcome, or sell them a solution on a thing that I was able to achieve. And this is the exact same business that has helped me make thousands of dollars. That's the exact same business that makes me live a comfortable financial life. And by the way, I've helped tons of people do the exact same thing that I do today. I've helped tons of people start and grow their own business, their own advising businesses, and make thousands of dollars. If you also want to know how I've done it and how other people did it, and if you want to see the testimonials and all the results, you can click the link in the description. I have tons of testimonials. Just scroll down, you find them. And if you need help to learn exactly what I do, go ahead and book a call with me, and I'm more than happy to see how I can help you achieve the exact same thing that I've achieved, and help you achieve the exact same thing that I've helped dozens of other people achieve. But if not, all you need to do is simply understand that 1, you don't need to be famous. 2, you don't need to create content on a consistent basis. And 3, you don't have to rely on sponsorships, brand deals, and all that type of stuff. All you need is to sell services to people, helping people achieve a certain outcome, and in exchange to pay you $1, $2, $3, $4, $5,000. Because the only way for you to make a lot of money is by creating a product where people get to depend on you to achieve the end result. You create a product where people depend on you for achieving a desired outcome, and you can charge as much as you want, as long as what you're selling is authentic and to something that you've actually tried and tested yourself. And trust me, you do that for long enough, and money will become for you at some point a tool for growth instead of something that you have to constantly worry about. And you will end up at a point in life where you don't have to worry about what people are promoting on social media. You don't have to worry about the lifestyle that people are living, because you will get to live that lifestyle. You get to live a life where you either focus on your family and you help them grow, or you can go out and live a luxurious lifestyle and buy the watches and the fancy clothing that you want. Again, all you need is just to sell a service to people that helps them achieve a certain desired outcome.